I'm Eric Barnes with the Daily Memphian, and welcome to The Sidebar, a weekly show on the community, arts, culture, and more. Today, we're very pleased to be talking to Kaci Murley, Executive Director of the Overton Park Conservancy. So stay with us for a conversation with Kaci. Kaci, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Eric.
Is that the right title? I didn't even check. Executive Editor? Executive Director?
You're Executive Editor.
I don't know what I am. I'm CEO, but it's Executive Director.
Yes, that's
You're in charge.
correct.
How long have you been Executive Director now?
Well, on September 1st, 901 day, it will be 1 year.
It's a year. Mm-hmm. See, and this is my full disclosure, even though I haven't been on the board a long time. We met when I was on the board, former board chair from not quite the beginning, but I was on the board from almost the beginning, and through all the Greensward stuff, which thankfully is very much in the past. But so I still, it's like the people who went through that, there's kind of this time, like when I see Tina Sullivan or when I see Lauren Taylor, I see other, board members and staff from that time. It's like, we made it through that.
Y'all were in it.
Through that. So, well, but welcome. We'll talk about all kinds of good stuff going on with the park. Where do you want to start with all the different things happening right now?
Well, I think there's an interesting, you mentioned the Greensward and the parking controversy. Yeah. And I think I've been blessed, thank you, Tina Sullivan, to have stepped in during a whole new chapter of that saga. And it's a much more positive story these days.
Yeah. And so for people not as close to it, what are the next steps? And we had Matt Thompson, the CEO of the zoo, on. Actually, that was on Behind the Headlines over at WKNO a couple months ago. And it was great. And it was all positive and all these kinds of things happening. We've had Carissa Husong from the Metal Museum, formerly the College of Art, other folks that were on. Oh, Natalie Wilson from the Shell. So there's all this great stuff happening. So I was going back in time just because of that history I have. But there are all these really positive things happening. And so getting cars off the Greensward, all the steps that follow, the land that the zoo is giving back, kind of walk that through for people not as close to it.
Sure. That time I joked that, I didn't live through that, but that was, you were there. That was a very real, I think I could say traumatic time for our team. The Conservancy was started to, really elevate the park, Overton Park, and the space with, extra trash pickup and extra, times that we mow the grass, and then, it's gaining momentum, and then, really kind of got, stifled is the right word, but definitely hung up in this, that time. Fast forward to today, I talked about Tina and how grateful I am. I really think it was a testament of her steadfast leadership, not being quick to make decisions, not leading with emotion, very much a critical thinking mindset, always thinking ahead of, who am I as the leader, or who are we who are using the park today, but for the next 100 years, what is the best decision that we make? And so, today, with that kind of chapter, we were grateful, lucky, we, a city, to receive support from Congressman Cohen, helped us to get a federal HUD grant that was kind of split, partnered between the Conservancy, the City of Memphis, and the zoo, called the parking solution. And there's kind of several phases to that, but the big thing is that the southeast corner of the park, so that area right at Poplar and East Parkway, kind of tucked back right by the firehouse, that was the city's general services area since like the 1930s. The city moved out of that space and gave that land to the public for future parkland, so to the Conservancy. We brokered a deal with the zoo where they're moving their administration over to that space currently, the northern portion of that lot. And in the space that they're freeing up, they're going to be able to move around for some new parking. And that would
be new parking off of
North Parkway. Yeah. Yes. And so, long story short, with the parking, that when that area in the southeast corner gets finished, which the city's doing construction over there right now, that's what ends the Greensward parking forever. I had somebody ask earlier this past spring break, like, I thought it was over, and I'm like, we're almost there. But the fun part is also in that deal, the zoo gave to the public, to the Conservancy, that last remaining 17-acre tract of forest. When you walk through by the dog park, through the big green tulip gate, that fenced area. Yeah. So we're building a new trail back there. That fence will come down this fall. We'll do a ribbon cutting. And the final portion of that saga is we will build a walking loop around the Greensward. So that's going to both be a physical kind of symbolic representation of the end of that chapter and create a whole new level of activity and accessibility in the park.
And again, I can remember back in the day, when everything was so bad, people were so concerned that that 17 acres, and I think there was a possibility it was going to be expansion, right? That the zoo was in an expansion mode and doing more, exhibits. And the zoo's great. I mean, the exhibits are great. When my kids were little, we were there all the time. I mean, it's not about the zoo in and of itself, but I think it's just a huge relief to people that old, and that's Old Forest as well, that 17 acres, even though it's divided from the main Old Forest by the road. So for that to come back and be public, but also not to be on deck to be developed is huge.
Right. Yeah, it's still part of the 126 acres is the Old Forest State Natural Area. So, the Old Forest is very unique to Memphis. It is to find an urban old growth forest across the country. There are only 3, and we have the only one in the southeastern United States. Yeah. A lot of people don't recognize what an asset that is, and so that last 17 acres, we will plan to add that into the state natural area as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Under the designation.
Now we're wonky, but is that you go to the state to get approval, designation, and everything looks good on that?
Yep.
Since everyone's agreeing, I mean, I'm not sure who would fight it.
Right.
When you talk about the general services area, that corner of Poplar and East Parkway, and putting zoo stuff over there, and then having the other half will be for eventually part of the management area of the Overton Park Conservancy? Well,
it's technically now in our managed area, but it's not open to the public yet.
Right.
There's a lot of, there are questions of what should go there. Currently, the city's horticultural team is still over there. There's some old greenhouses
that are kind of cool.
They're cool.
I mean, they're in disrepair, but they are really cool.
But we're using that space right now. We received a grant in partnership with the zoo. So again, with this kind of new era of working together, and AZA grant for pollinator habitat. So we've built out some massive beds over there, and it's all part of the Saving the Monarchs. And we dug out all of the non-native plants in the Veterans Plaza, and there's a plot there as well. So we still don't know what will go in the southeast corner for the public portion. There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. Yeah. A lot of fundraising to do.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit before the show started about George Cates, who passed away some years ago this summer, and was the founding executive director, one of the founding board members. He didn't like that to call him that, but that's what he was. And he got me on the board there, is where I first met George Cates. And early on in my tenure as a board member, my first year, I was at a committee meeting of people kind of trying to figure out this Greensward problem, and George literally sketched out basically what's happening. We don't need this. We don't need that. If we could just take that parking up on the north end, and we could move some zoo administration over there, and then we give up a little and we get a little, and all this kind of thing. And now, a decade later, well, it's the craziest thing.
But I think that speaks again to that, the need for long-term visionary thinking in Overton Park. I mean, next year, Memphis will celebrate the 125th anniversary of Overton Park. It was designed and founded in 1901. And there's just very unique differences that Overton has, very different from, I would say, like Shelby Farms or even, Tom Lee Park, like they're, which we learn a lot from each other and work very closely together. But Overton Park went in the sandbox that we're all playing in, right? It's kind of Shelby Farms laid it out, and this is the area.
Yeah.
In Overton, I have for lack of a better metaphor, I say Overton Park is like Swiss cheese, and the Conservancy is the cheese.
Yeah.
Right. And so we've got these holes where the Brooks Museum and the Shell and the Metal Museum and the zoo. And so it just presents these wildly unique challenges and opportunities, but you've got to think long term in that space.
Yeah, I used to call it Yugoslavia, which is kind of a problematic analogy. But I mean that it was all these different it's not one thing. And I think a lot of people go in the park and they think, wow, there's the Shell and the zoo and these other buildings. That's all Overton Park.
Right.
And it's all either managed by the city or managed by this Conservancy but they are separate entities that need to work together and now really do work together. And I should remind everyone we're here with Kaci Murley. She's executive director of the Overton Park Conservancy. We'll come back in just a second here and talk more about things going on in the park and some of the interactions and good stuff going on with some of the other park partners. But I'll remind everyone, I'm Eric Barnes. This is The Sidebar. It airs on WYXR 91.7 every Thursday at 11:30, focused on the community, arts, culture, everything in between. But it's not just a radio show. It's one of many weekly and now daily podcasts we do at the Daily Memphian, including our morning podcast, AMDM, with Mary Kaci and Natalie Van Gundy, who's sitting across from me producing this show. We also have the Memphis Grizzlies podcast, hosted by Drew Hill and Chris Harrington, and our food podcast, Sound Bites, hosted by Holly Whitfield, which also airs on WYXR every Thursday at 11. I mentioned Behind the Headlines, and we had Matt Thompson, the CEO of the zoo, on there sometime probably a couple months ago. We do host that podcast version at Daily Memphian as well. And all of our podcasts are on the Daily Memphian site, as well as iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. You can get the WYXR shows, including Soundbites and Sidebar, on WYXR.org or on the WYXR app. That includes all the WYXR shows, talk and music, all the archives of the shows, and the 100 or so volunteers, DJs who host shows all week on the station. WYXR is nonprofit, listener-supported radio, so become a member if you can, or do a one-off donation. WYXR just became a corporation for public broadcasting affiliated radio station last year, just in time to have its funding cut. So it got its funding for this year, but it's about $100,000 that has been rescinded by the federal government for next year. So I should say, because I'm on the board of WYXR, are in the middle of a big fundraising campaign to try to make up some of that lost revenue. So do consider supporting WYXR. If you're not a paid subscriber to the Daily Memphian, please do become one. We're a nonprofit newsroom, about 37 people, the largest newsroom in the region. And we are mostly supported by paid subscriptions. A little over 50% of what we do is paid for by your subscription. We're also supported by about 20% by donations, and the rest is advertising and so on. On the Sidebar, coming up soon, we have David Lusk from David Lusk Gallery. We've got Sam O'Brien, the relatively new head of Bridges, who's coming on. We recently had the folks from Code Crew on the show, as well as Young Avenue Sound and Arts Memphis. On Behind the Headlines, coming up this week, is a show on affordable housing. And in the coming weeks, we also have a show, MLGW, with Doug McGowan and Ursula Madden. They said it couldn't be done, but it's being done. We're going to have them both at the same time. I'm really excited about that. They're two of my favorite guests. As well as a show down the road here from on the Downtown Memphis Commission, and Shondell Ryan will be on that show. This last week, we had two board members from Memphis Shelby County Schools talking about all the things, or as many of the things as we could get to in 26 minutes, going on with the schools right now. A couple weeks earlier, we had Brent Taylor and Mark White, two state legislators looking to take over essentially from the board with a state-appointed commission. We talked about other issues as well with them, those two state legislators. And we had a show recently on the big proposal for redevelopment of areas around Mississippi Boulevard Church and all the possibilities there. We also have our small business seminar coming up September 18th at 3:30 at the Botanic Garden. We've got folks from ZoopMed on the panel, as well as David Perdue, who started a landscape company when he was a teenager, now running a multi-million-dollar business, and Andre Ford from Campbell Ford Construction Company. All those three will be on the panel at Small Business Seminar. There's four people on the panel because there's two from ZoopMed. I knew that. That we can leave in. Everything else I screwed up has to go. But they're very excited about both the folks from ZoopMed coming to be on the panel September 18th at 3:30 at the Botanic Garden. Go to Eventbrite, search for Daily Memphian, and you can buy a ticket for that event, or you can go to the Daily Memphian site, go into the navigation, and choose seminars. But we are still here with Kaci Murley. She is executive director of the Overton Park Conservancy. One of the probably most visible things, for better or worse, that people see is the golf course, right? I mean, because Poplar is such a trafficked avenue. What's going on with the golf course and the clubhouse?
Sure. So, a few years ago, a group led by George Cates and Gary Shorb and Bob McInerney, some other folks, raised a lot of money and renovated the course. We worked closely with the city to make that happen. It is still managed by the city. So Overton Park 9, a city golf course, and the renovation was kind of a partnership between a nice public-private partnership. It is more popular than ever, as I understand. I believe rounds are up over 4 times what they were before the renovation.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And the clubhouse is also renovated. Part of the agreement, the Conservancy manages now private events and rentals for the clubhouse. So you could have a Daily Memphian seminar there. You could have your private birthday party there. You could have a company holiday party. But it's a beautiful spot. Anybody can go there at any time, to be clear. Wi-Fi, supposedly cheapest beer in town, beautiful new patio, but it's a great spot. We just had a tournament there earlier this spring called the OP99. Yeah. These crazy guys got this idea from somewhere.
Oh, I donated money to this.
Oh my gosh.
Full disclosure.
Thank you. Because it was a fundraiser for golf course improvements for the Conservancy's operating fund, and for first tee scholarships, and to support the Overton Park Junior Open a little bit. Those guys this was the second year that they have done that tournament, and they raised over $100,000. They did.
That's crazy.
What's crazier is that they walked that 9-hole course. They walked the 9-hole course. They did 9 rounds, and so the math is that they walked longer than a marathon that day.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was so that's just fun stuff that is happening there.
Again, I gave a couple $100. Andy Cates from Colliers, who's
on our board.
Your board, former. Yeah, okay, so he's still on the board.
He did it.
Not the Andy Cates, who's the son of George Cates. Just many Cates going on. He tricked me into giving some money to that, but it's amazing. And I haven't been to I don't think I've seen the clubhouse since it's been fully renovated, but people have driven by or have seen it if they're in the park. It's over there by the entrance it's not just for golfers. I mean, people go hang out, people after a run, on a walk, it's not by any stretch whatsoever an exclusive clubhouse for golfers.
Well, and that's part of, we have a separate kind of OP9 committee of some board members and some folks from the city and volunteers. And that's one of the things that we really want a message that we want to get out there is that it is open to the public. The restrooms, there's food and beverage there. Actually, Matt Prince here at Crosstown is now chairing that board, and he got, or that committee, and he got the Mad Grocer is now offering sandwiches and wraps over there on the weekends. And it's just, the Conservancy uses that space for a lot of our programming,
right?
And events. All of our environmental science. We do a science cafe. It's kind of this monthly happy hour. A bunch of science nerds get in the room and learn new topics. Yeah. And we do that there as well.
That's great. I did the Mad Grocer thing too. That's fantastic. What else? We had Chris Song. I mentioned that on with the Metal Museum. You all must be. All this stuff is. You're not directly related to the new golf course, but having it 4 times as many people is 4 times as many people who come in the park, right? And you've got the Metal Museum going into the old the College of Art space. That's people coming in to the park. It's all of it is meant, and same with the Shell. We talked about Natalie Wilson on the show. They're in a pause right now in the hot part of summer, but they'll be back with I can't remember when it is, but I think it's in August or so that they come back. All that stuff is to the benefit of the public spaces, right? That's the intent. That it all works together. I shouldn't say intent, right? That all those things work together, that people also get to just experience the Greensward or experience the Old Forest or experience going for a run there.
I mean, that's something that all of us park partner heads, so Natalie and Carissa and Zoe and Matt, we get together monthly and have coffee and breakfast together and talk about kind of unique challenges or, how do you navigate, this department or what are things that we could do collectively together better? What are some big events coming up, common security issues? But I think the big thing that we're all working towards is recognizing that there's 1.3 million people that come into Overton Park every year. And whether they're going to the zoo or the Shell or, Rainbow Lake Playground, 850,000 people come through the forest, which is a wild number.
That is a wild number.
Yeah. So it's, biking. And so we talk together collectively about the non-sexy stuff, or no shade to city planners, but the sidewalks and accessibility and the roadways surrounding, and that's something that the Conservancy is working on. But we have to work closely with our park partners to make sure that we're not tripping over each other's pipes, literally, or those. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to better serve the public. Collectively advocate together as a one city asset and just work smarter.
Yeah. Do you worry what's going to happen when the Brooks moves downtown?
Yes and no. For one, for the city, it's going to be this incredible new asset downtown on our riverfront, which is, one of our most unique resources. But for the park, the Conservancy has been working, on a master plan for many years. And, when the Metal Museum came in and the search for both the new Brooks tenant and the College of Arts tenant happened at the same time. And then, nothing was really landed for the Brooks. That has affected our ability, the Conservancy's ability, to move forward with some things with the master plan because, well, if this, then that, and we don't want to compete with,
Sure.
Is there too much food and beverage? Are there, what's going to be missing, or is it going to change the ethos of the park? So we hope that we'll have an answer soon from those who are involved about what's going to happen in the Brooks Museum. I'm in no official capacity here other than, I guess, to speak on behalf of the Conservancy that, we hope that it remains open to the public. We hope that it remains, a culture that celebrates arts and wellness and history. So we'll see.
Yeah. I remember when, College of Art went dark and it was kind of panicky and what's going to happen, and this amazing thing is happening. It's very sad that the College of Art is gone, but this amazing new museum and this renovation and this all that. And I don't know, Memphis does have kind of a way to pull those things off, even when it doesn't necessarily look like it's going to happen. And lots of the rumors I've heard, which I won't go into, all sound really great about possibilities for the Brooks. So, hopefully one of those or a few of them come to fruition. Again, another neighbor, I'm not putting you in a place of saying you have control of it. The Parkview Apartments, that people see the beautiful old building that, was kind of senior living, now under renovation. Do you have any sense there's lots of construction going on there?
I do not know. Our office is, I should know. If someone has answers, please call me. We know that our offices face that building across the street on Poplar. We're in the Art Loft Apartments. Our office used to be in the Parkview. And we have seen several different signs and several different owners, and they put the air condition, the units up, and then they took them down and they put them up, and now there's a big sign. So I would love to be connected with whoever is responsible for that building, but I don't have any clear answers of when it's opening. I'm sure someone does, but I do see it as a massive opportunity of brand new, folks who are going to be using the park, and hopefully brand new Conservancy donors.
Yeah, no, and we've tried to, as best we can over the years, to kind of get a fix on what's exactly happening, and it's kind of a shifting landscape. But hopefully we'll have a story on that sooner than later. Years ago, there were two things. This is back to when I was on the board, so that was a long time ago. there was talk of a more robust connector on Cooper to the park. There was some state funding potentially. It was all very much in a backlog of state projects and so on, because that part of Poplar is actually a state road.
Right.
But that's a concern, right? It's always been a concern, is getting people across, especially across Poplar, but also to some degree across North Parkway, because, into the park and on bikes and walking. Any update there?
So if I get questions about, or if we get questions about two things so very often, it's the Brooks Museum and the Poplar Cooper connector, and two projects that we have, not really control over. However, but that project, it's got state funding, it's got federal funding, and it's been drug out over the years. But we did meet with Richie Smith is on the team, kind of leading that. And we met with him last fall, and we're told that we should see some movement or construction beginning in spring of 26. So I know Toby Sells at the Memphis Flyer did a story of, the projects of whatever happened to, and I read it and I was like, we're working on it, I promise. But this is the first time we're talking about it out loud, that we should see construction next spring, and that's going to pull folks in a more safe way, build out the sidewalk, and that will then turn in on Veterans Plaza right by the golf course.
Oh, okay. So it'll go all the way.
That main entrance.
Okay. What did I miss?
Well, we have more sidewalks that we are building.
Yeah.
That's it. So Congressman Cohen, that first HUD grant that he helped us secure, we got a second one. It was all centered around connectivity and accessibility. So we will also, our next phase of the Conservancy's master plan, we're turning our eyes now towards the whole East Parkway side of the park. So there's that, obviously the bike gate there, that kind of iconic where Sam Cooper comes in. A lot of bike traffic through there, a lot of pedestrian traffic. And that whole area, we're not looking at wholesale change, but that redoing that playground deserves some love. And improving the walking trails, adding more of those kind of iconic long concrete benches that were like WPA era. And then that pavilion over there, that's that historic pavilion is the longest standing structure of any structure in the park. So it's historic on the, and so that HUD grant is going to help us with some of the improving the trails, but mainly the new thing is a sidewalk all the way along East Parkway. So when you land at the plaza right there where the bike arch is, along East Parkway all the way down to the fire station. Ultimately, that green print plan many years ago called for a sidewalk connection all the way around the park. This is one piece of that.
I remember when I was on the board and the sidewalk connector was talked about, and everybody was just on edge then because OPC was new and the Greensward thing was totally unresolved. So any change, I think it's hard to change spaces in parks. I mean, look at downtown, look at Shelby Farms. It's just people have this vested interest and a fear. So it's hard to make change. So I'm going to say that. But there was some real resistance to this proposal to put a walking path all the way around Overton Park. And a bunch of people saying, I remember some community meeting kind of thing where you can do it fine. It's totally fine. You just there's some roots, there's nothing. And it's like, well, wait, if you've got a stroller or whatever. So I made my daughter, who at the time was probably 12, she and I walked the entire perimeter of the park. And partway into it, like on North Parkway, East Parkway, she was like, Dad, we're gonna die.
This is not safe.
There were parts where the only way to traverse was to run down the lane, like with a red light. And we're like running half a block and then back up in the dirt. It's not safe and it's really sad.
And we're laughing, but that's very true. And we did that all the way along East Parkway from North Parkway down to Poplar. And the stretch that we're building is flat, that area. But once you go south of the fire station to Poplar, there's a massive ditches there. That's the kind of thing that you can't just build the sidewalk.
I left my daughter
major
there,
infrastructure.
She lives in one of those ditches. That's what I did. Because I love her. That's a joke. That's a joke. We're fine. That's all the time we had, though. But a question that I always try to ask, what was the first concert you went to?
Celine Dion at the Pyramid.
Nice.
No.
Natalie Van Gundy. Me too. We're both
Look at
there.
us.
Oh, that's a first. Where one of us was at the same time. Now, a little not so surprising that I wouldn't be, but that's good.
Wow.
Silly deal. Very nice. Kaci Murley from the Overton Park Conservancy. Thanks very much for being here. That is all the time we have this week. If you missed any of the show, you can get the full episode online at the Daily Memphian, WYXR, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.